What do you call two corn nuts living together in peace? They are now living in Hominy. Hi, my name is Sally and welcome to Sally Spills the Beans. On today's episode, we will be talking about a special ingredient. It is actually not a bean, it's actually a corn nut called hominy. I truly apologize for not having a can or a bag of hominy with me because I already cooked them. But don't worry, I will be sharing this recipe with you after this episode. My first experience with hominy was in middle school when my cousin and I had a really fun kids cookbook. Don't judge me, okay? I was still a kid in middle school. I was thriving with this fun kids cookbook, but I digress. In this cookbook, there is an alternative recipe to making popcorn, and it used hominy. When I saw the can of hominy in the store, I thought it was a bean. Like, wow, this looks so cool. And so I made that and it was so delicious. And then my second experience with hominy was in college with this delicious soup called basole. Oh, it's so good. I still think about it to this day. Oh, so warm, delicious. And I still thought that hominy was a bean, providing a whole bunch of fiber. And a few years later, this past weekend, I recently learned that hominy is not a bean. It is a corn nut. Whew. Wow. There you have it, friends. Sally spills the beans. I thought hominy was a bean, but it's not a bean. But what makes hominy so special is the process of making hominy and also its further process into being used to make tortilla. This process is called nixtamalization. Nixtamalization comes from the Aztec language, the first part meaning ashes and tamale meaning unformed maize dough. Nixtamalization describes the process of any grain that is used to remove the pericarp. With maize or corn, the dried kernels are cooked and steeped in water and lime for its calcium hydroxide for a few hours until the pericarp slips right off. Then, the maize is converted into dough and eventually tortillas. Nixtamalization affects maize smell and flavor as well as the composition and functionality. By steeping the dried kernels in calcium hydroxide, it allows for vitamin B3 or niacin to be released and easily absorbed by the body. Nixtamalization provides several nutritional benefits. Tortillas are an excellent source of high starch and calcium, as well as being a vehicle for iron, zinc, B vitamins, and vitamin A. However, they do lack protein, which can lead to a protein deficiency called kwashiorkor. This makes it important for tortillas to be paired with a legume or animal product protein. Nixtamalization has also shown to reduce pellagra disease due to the bioavailability of niacin, also known as vitamin B3. There is also an increase in calcium intake due to the dried kernels being steeped in calcium hydroxide and allowing for the absorption of calcium. When making whole grain tortillas, there is also an increase in starch content as well as dietary fiber. Lastly, there is also an increase in the bioavailability of iron, which can also be used to reduce anemia. Nixtamalization reminded me of enrichment and fortification. When creating food products, the ingredients may sometimes need to be processed, and along the way, nutrients could get lost. For example, in refined grains, the germ and bran are removed, creating a big difference in the nutritional values between the whole grain and the refined grain. To compensate for the lost nutrients, two processes can be involved. One process is called enrichment. In this process, nutrients that are lost in the sauce are lost in the process are added back into the food. For example, in enriched flour, folic acid, riboflavin, and iron are added back to the flour because they were lost in the refining process. Another process that is similar to enrichment but different is called fortification. Fortification is when nutrients that were not naturally occurring in the food product are added to the food. Fortification is meant to improve nutrition as well as health benefits. Because nutrients are lost in the process and added back into the foods, requiring more processes, does that make enriched and fortified foods bad? Well, let's think about it. Fortified and enriched foods have great intentions, mainly for common diseases of that time due to nutritional deficiencies. For example, rickets. Rickets is the softening and weakening of bone tissue in children due to vitamin D deficiency. As a result, foods were fortified with vitamin D to reduce rickets in children. Foods that were fortified with vitamin D, for example, are ready-to-eat cereal and orange juice. Again, are enriched and fortified foods bad? No, they are actually helpful. They fill in the gaps and help to increase vitamin and mineral consumption where there is a lack or concern in nutritional deficiencies in a population. If the only food options available are fortified and enriched foods, they may be the next best option. However, keep in mind that processed foods could be higher in sugars, saturated fats, trans fats, and sodium. The primary and preferable food choices should be fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, then enriched and fortified foods. What are your thoughts on enriched foods and fortified foods? Like nixtamalization, what foods have you made that required processing or that could also have provided enhancement in nutrients? Catch you all next time on Sally Spills the Beans.